Hi guys, it's Mark here from My Council Services. One question we get time and time again is how do I design an integration and what are the best practices you can advise us on? So I've put together a small list of the areas that I check for when I'm designing the integration. When a customer submits a form, you need to make sure everything is captured upfront in that process. So things like names, email addresses, phone numbers, their address, any information they'd like to support the form they're submitting, any evidence, photographs, movies, sounds, everything needs to be captured and complete. So at the point the customer submits the form as the final piece of work, it's packaged up and everything is integrated in one flow. There's no going back and forth. When a customer completes the information on the form, you need to make sure the information is clean, accurate and complete. So you'd use tools such as regex, you'd use masking, you'd use number validation, text validation, you'd use the maximum length of that particular field, you'd use real-time lookups. You want to make sure what the customer is telling you is correct, you validated it with internal sources, and the information is the right length, right size, right data type to be integrated into another field downstream during the integration process. Integrations will fail despite all your hard efforts in making sure you're validating all the data that a customer's entered. There will be a time when it doesn't want to integrate because of an issue it finds with that data. In those situations, it's important the integration just doesn't stop entirely. It should be fault tolerant to make sure it understands what the error is. There's sufficient handling. So what we normally recommend is, say, adding a note onto the main object, such as a service request, case or task, to tell the advisor this has failed to integrate for these reasons, and then the integration should continue and carry on to process the next service request, case or task. Failure to do this will mean you need to monitor more heavily, and customer agents will have to check and do the diagnostics themselves as to why the issue has occurred. It is critical you design an integration to imagine that halfway through running, someone pulls the plug out of the servers and everything crashes. Once they put the power back in, what happens to that integration? So you've got to design it in such a way that there's gates through downloading the data, through the first record it touches, through pushing that data through to confirming the other system has received it. At each of these areas, should you not have these gates in place, when the integration does start up, it will start again processing the same information, in which case you can lead to duplicates, or even still it may think it's integrated but nothing's been sent over, so the customer's waiting for their request to be completed and the back office team know nothing about this. Understand the peaks of your integration. A good example we often come across is green garden waste. When we build the integration and we test it with a few hundred, a couple of thousand, it all looks good and we're happy that we can pick that amount of information up, we can push it into the downstream system, no problem at all. Come April the 1st, when 50,000 people want to register for their integration, we see an exceptionally high curve in the number of flows we have to push through. This can cause massive issues, getting the data in the first place, to processing the data, to then us pounding the downstream system with thousands of requests across the board. This can cause many issues. So understanding the peaks means you can design how much data is received each time, how much data we push in one go. If we were able to understand what the maximums are, we're able to use the integration almost as a filter, to just drip filter a few every few minutes. Rather than trying to process thousands in 1 hour, we just process a couple of hundred each hour, and then over a day or two the rest of it can be integrated. On those non-time sensitive requests, pulling the integration over a longer period of time wouldn't cause any issues. Understand the business process that you're trying to achieve. There's no point in just pushing data from one system to the other. You really have to understand what the customer is going to submit, what the council will then pick up, what they will do, what validation will happen. Only when you understand the business process are you able to truly understand what touch points the integration must occur, and each of those touch points would probably be another flow. So we often talk about two-way integration. Well, the fact is it's a multi-point integration. We send something over, we get some information back, the customer adds a note, we send it over, the crew or the back office team adds more information, we send it back to the customer outside. Someone adds some evidence, we then integrate that. Someone changes the status, we also reflect that information. So they're not two-way integrations anymore, they're multi-point with multiple processes involved. Once a customer has submitted a request, it's important to tell them what the service level agreements are of that request. So telling a customer upfront will mean they won't contact you, they will understand the delays that are involved, and they've got a good expectation of when the work be completed. If for some reason there is a failure in this SLA, it's important via the integrations to notify the customer your original request will not be met by the deadlines we set. We will, however, try to achieve this on a further date. If you don't tell the customer this, they're likely to phone up, they're likely to add more information to the request online, in which case you're just creating a more frustrated and irate customer, when if you told them early on in the process that it wouldn't be completed, they'd be more understanding and less likely to be dissatisfied with the service they're receiving. Despite your best efforts to design a perfect integration flow, there will be occasions when it fails. So the key thing to this is just to monitor. You need to make sure you've got regular checks on what's happening, trend analysis, regular notifications when things don't look like they're correct, checking to see at weekends what the peaks are, checking to see what the peaks are during the weekdays, looking for things that don't quite look right. If you've got 3, 4, 5 different integrations running and each one of those is polling every half an hour and they're checking requests 2, 3, 400 that time, well, you can soon see within a given day there could be 50,000, 100,000 different calls being made. So it can be difficult to spot when there is an issue.